I feel the need for speed. Ow!
Figured I'd do a short review on my 2018 MT-07. Just go over some of the things I do and don't like about it. Had the bike now for just under 4 months. Got it about the second week of April. And I've only put about 1,800 miles on it. Just mainly use it to commute to and from work, but I don't really live that far from work, so it takes a while to rack up miles on anything. But so far I love the bike. I think it's probably the best purchase I could have made as far as my second street bike. First brand new bike ever. And I just like the bike. There's a lot of things I like, only a few that I don't. You know, as far as what I do like, obviously, like probably everybody with an MT-07 or an FZ-07, I love the power and the torque curve for this bike. Makes it so awesome for around town driving. You know, sure, I can't go 150, 160 like anybody with an R6, but it does its job as far as commuter bike just fine. You know, pretty much any gear, if I have to, I can get up and go semi quickly. You know, obviously the higher gears takes a little bit more work, but it also gets phenomenal gas mileage if I stay off the throttle. You know, I can get, even with an exhaust and a tune on it, I can get a 50 miles of the gallon out of a tank if I try and stay out of the throttle. Now, I also like the seating position. The upright seating position has always been more comfortable to me than being hunched over, like if you were on a crotch rocket. And the seat is definitely an improvement over the old FZ-07 seat. I didn't own one, but I had sat on quite a few, and the added area on the seat for the 2018 MT-07 is definitely an improvement. I also like the styling changes that they made for 2018. I do like that they brought back the highlighter wheels as far as the color scheme goes, but I love that they went with the matte gray instead of the glossy lighter gray that they had on the FZ-07. I think the dark and the matte gray just look so much better. I like how overall the tank and everything is a lot more, I guess, edgy, I guess you could say, versus a little bit more rounded on the older ones. I also like how they did this versus the small plastic piece on the middle of the tank on the old models. I kind of like the new taillight design a little better. I know it's not much different, but I do like it. Also like the old FZ-09 headlight replacing the MT-07 one. I like the shorter and wider headlight design over the old FZ-07, you know, light that was tall and skinny. I also like how they moved the turn signals down to where, you know, on a crotch rocket the fairings would be, versus being sticking out off of the headlight. That just never really looked right to me. Some of the things that I don't like about it: stock mirrors. They look fine and work fine, but I'm not a big fan of not being able to see directly behind me, and you really can't with these mirrors unless you lean over and look. They also seem to have the tendency at higher speeds to want to adjust themselves. You know, they'll pull in, not much, but enough that, you know, having to readjust them if I hit certain speeds every once in a while, having to readjust them all the time is not very fun. I also don't like the noises that the plastics make as far as when you're moving around on the bike. I know it was an issue with the old FZ-07 too. It's probably just going to be something that's always going to be part of these bikes. I'm just not a fan of it because it kind of makes it seem like a cheaper bike than it already is. You know, yeah, it's a budget bike, but I wish they would figure out some way to quiet it down. You know, if I'm sitting still, I don't want to hear everything creaking while I'm moving around. But that's just more of an annoyance than than an absolute hate. I do like these stock tires. I don't know if these Battle Axe tires were on the MT-07s or not, but I do like them on this. So far, I've not had any issues with traction. They do fine with cornering, stopping, you know, just riding straight, whether it's dry pavement. I've had to deal with a little bit of gravel here and there, and it seemed to do fine. They also seem to handle rain just fine. Now, obviously, I don't go all out all the time, so whether or not these tires would do great in the rain for somebody that likes to ride a little harder than I do, I'm not sure. But for just a commuter bike, they seem to be fine. It's kind of a hit and miss as for, I guess, a like and dislike, is the exhaust on this bike. Stock, I absolutely despised it. It was too quiet. You know, yeah, I get stock exhausts are quiet, but the MT-07 and the FZ-07 exhausts when they're stock are just so darn quiet that I'm not a fan. You know, they just kind of sound tinny, you know, when you do hear them. But with an aftermarket exhaust on it, it sounds amazing. I've got a Kropovich titanium and carbon fiber system on this, along with a two-wheel Dynoworks flash tune on the ECU, and it definitely livened the bike up. Having the exhaust and the tune on there definitely seems to get up and go. It's a little bit more peppy. I also love that the tune did get rid of some of the engine braking. It's still got plenty for me, but it's not trying to throw you over the handlebars like it did stock. And then, of course, there's the sound. It just sounds so much better with an exhaust on it. I mean, overall, I love the bike. There's really not anything else to say than that. Not really very many things with it that I want to change. You know, I'm going to get rid of the stock signals at some point. You know, when an integrated tail comes out, I'll get one of those. Might go with some Proton 500s for some flush mounts up front. Or go with the OEM Yamaha LEDs that you could get from Canada or overseas. Just to kind of clean the bike up a little bit. I'm not a big fan of the big fat orange blinkers. But as far as looks wise go, I'm not going to do much. Maybe do some bar end mirrors later on down the road. Retrofit a headlight for it to get a HID or an LED projector in there. But other than that, an integrated tail and something different with the turn signals, I'm pretty much going to keep this bike stock as far as the appearance goes. Might delete the rear foot pegs, as I don't really ever intend to carry many passengers, if any. And I know that cleans up the bike quite a bit. But all in all, I think this is probably a great beginner bike. It is my second street bike, but my first one was a little bit heavier and was only a 600. So it wasn't too outrageously fast or anything like that. But I believe a MT-07 or even an FZ-07, if you want to save a little bit of money and get an older model, I think they'd be a perfect beginner bike for somebody. You know, semi-decently short to the ground. I'm only 5'6", and I can almost put both feet flat down on the ground, which obviously I can't do on something like an R6 with their higher seat height. But it's also a good bike, I think, for somebody that has plenty of riding experience. It does have a fun factor to it that even somebody that's ridden bikes for a while, I think, would enjoy. It's a fun bike to ride. It's nice and easy to ride, nice and nimble. Being only, you know, I think it's only 400 pounds, give or take a few, wet, which means it's an extremely light bike, and it's very easy to flick around and maneuver. Makes it easier for loading in and out of trucks too if you have to take it to the shop, versus 500 or 600 pound bike. And it's a fun bike. I know I've said that a lot, but it's a fun bike. I love it. I think it was a great buy. If somebody's on the fence about it, I'd see if your local dealer would let you take one on a test ride. You know, I didn't test ride mine before I bought it. I just figured I would like it, and I did. You know, I was in love with the bike before I made it home, and I only live a couple miles from the dealer. So if you're on the fence, if you're not sure if you'd like it or not, see if a dealer would let you take it on a test ride, and you'd probably enjoy it. You know, a lot of people I know personally have gone with the 09 over the 7, but I don't know. I do love the 09s. If I get a second bike, I'll probably get one of those. But just price-wise, I went with the 07 just because I was able to get it a little cheaper out the door. And it does fine for what it is. You know, yeah, it doesn't have the power of an 09 or an 010 or an MT-10, but it's got plenty of power for me. So that was just a short little review I had on the bike. Hope you guys enjoy, and I'll try and get more videos up in the future.